Hello everyone, Boost Cyber Studios here with another banger. Yes, I said it, banger. Anyways, today I'm going to be doing another different type of video, and yes, this is about Become a Killer, or BAK for short, once again. And today I'm going to be doing a analysis video, sort of like, pretty much like that. And this time, I'm actually going to be analyzing one of the more harder killers to play as. In fact, the hardest killer to play as, Sans Undertale. So before we get into an analysis of how he works and what he is capable of, let's talk about his stats real quick. Sans has very low HP, 18 walking speed, plus 1 walking speed when you're using the dodge ability, and deals a lot of damage. So basically, Sans has extremely low HP, meaning he can literally die within like a couple seconds, most likely, if he's getting shot by someone like the Juggernaut. And then he's got 18 movement speed, and he cannot sprint. He can only walk, and he deals a shit ton of damage. Now, what do I mean by deal a shit ton of damage? Well, excuse me. What I mean by deal a shit ton of damage is mean he can practically one shot. Practically. Not necessarily one shot, but practically he can one shot certain characters. Now I'll get to that in a minute. Now, he has 1 walking speed, but that's only when he is using the dodge ability. So, when you have the dodge ability equipped, definitely use it fast. Because the whole point of that ability is to, well, not only dodge to avoid getting killed, but to dodge to gain distance. Or at least, if you're skillful enough, dodge and immediately smack your opponent, if you're really good with it. On mobile, it'll be hard as hell to do, but PC and console, probably not so bad. Now, about the part where I said he can practically one-shot. Sans is one of those characters that would be considered a one-shotter. However, he can only one-shot a certain types of characters. Normally the one-shotters are known for one-shotting, well, they can one-shot most amount of characters, but not necessarily anyone. Sans is not by far the most slowest one-shot character, considering he moves at about 18 movement walking speed, while the other one-shotter characters like Queso or Slenderman, or a few others, usually walk at about 25 walking speed. Not only is Sans the slowest killer in the whole game, but the hardest one to play as well, considering he has the most lowest HP, meaning he can literally die in pure ease, and even something like the mech can literally one-shot him by just simply kicking it once and Sans will immediately die. Yes, note, do not fight mechs or any other characters that can melee. I mean, you can try to take on the officer or the Juggernaut, but just be very aware of the fact that they can melee you too. So, if you see an officer or a freaking, what's his name, a Juggernaut switch to their fist, get away. Do not even try to fight them when they're using their fist. Because Sans can literally die. The mech can literally just insta-kill Sans at this point. While other melees can kill him in like, I'm assuming 2 hits? I don't know. I never died to anyone with a sword, nor died to a Doom guy. Doom guy. I'm sorry. I'm used to the Doomslayer skin for Juggernaut in this game. Yeah, I never died to any other melees but the mech. I have died to the mech before when trying to fight a Sans, and boy, did I learn a hard lesson from that. Died in 1 hit to a mech. But I'm assuming the others can kill you in like 2 or 3 hits. I don't know. But definitely do not fight mechs or any other melee-related characters as Sans. I mean, you can try to take on the Riot Runners because they don't deal as much damage, but be careful because they can still kill you quite quickly. So just, if you're going to fight melee characters, just be aware that you might die fast. Unless you are like me, who is actually skillful in the game and know how to utilize the character. But the players who are either new to the game or average, Sans is not someone you can just simply pick and, kick ass. Sans requires skill, Like, he requires a lot of dedication and skill and a lot of experience to get good with. Sans is not like other characters where you can just, simply unlock and just go apeshit. Because the point of Sans in this game is that he's kind of meant to be lore accurate to what he is in Undertale. Because in the game itself, Undertale, how Sans works in the game is that the whole point of Sans is that he dodges your attacks. However, he dies in one hit. He has 1 HP. So the same rules is supposed to apply to him in this game too. He doesn't necessarily die in one hit. Like, he doesn't have 1 HP. He clearly has a couple more health. So I would say he's like at least 99% lore accurate to what he's supposed to be in the original game. But you can still die as Sans. Like, look at this right there. I just got obliterated by players who were using the minigun, and I even tried to get away, but I just got obliterated. That's how hard it is to play Sans. But like I said, I'm more experienced with the game, so Sans is not that bad for me to play as. But the players who are either casuals or just, new players most likely, considering Sans costs really cheap as well, only costing like, what, 1,000 points? Which shouldn't even take you that long to get to that point. It'll take you like minutes to get to that point. But yeah, Sans is not someone you can just simply touch and do well with. You have to actually have a lot of dedication to even play as this guy. Considering I have a lot of dedication in this game, and how most of the characters work, pretty much all of them at least, Sans wouldn't be that bad. Like, experienced players, Sans is not that bad to deal with. For players who are casuals most likely, or just new players, yeah, they're going to have a very, very bad time playing as, well, Sans. And to be honest, what I said rhymes. Yeah, look at that. I just got obliterated again by a Juggernaut. Yeah, definitely be careful when dealing with Juggernauts as Sans, but yeah, so now that I'm done talking about his stats and talking about, tips of who to deal with and who to not deal with as Sans, unless you're a really good experienced player like me, then you shouldn't worry about them too much. Then again, you'll still probably die to like something like the Juggernaut because they'll just absolutely obliterate you with the minigun. Now let's talk about his abilities. Sans has 2 abilities. He has his attack and he has dodge. Now dodge is pretty self-explanatory. When you have it equipped, you will slow down to 1 movement speed, but if you use it, you pretty much, you gain a fucking fast. Okay, I want to say a speed boost. You're kind of meant to do a dash. It's more like a dash. You're kind of meant to use it to either get away from deadly scenarios that you'll most likely end up in as any other killer, or you can use it to gain distance on survivors. Yes, you can use this for distance too, which honestly that's mainly used for any scenario really. Now he got his attack. When that ability is equipped, Sans will equip his bone, and he can use it to smack a survivor. Dodge has a Oh yeah, the cooldowns. Dodge has I'm assuming like a 4-second cooldown. Yeah, practically a 4-second cooldown. Dodge has more like a 2 or 1.5-second cooldown when in use. Now keep in mind, Sans deals a shit ton of damage, which means he can practically one-shot you, as he was intended to be. He was intended to be a one-shot character because of how hard he played. Because considering how hard he is to play as, it kind of makes sense why he has to deal a shit ton of damage. However, usually one-shotters can deal a shit ton of damage too to probably insta-kill, but not insta-kill everybody. Sans can only practically 2-shot, probably 3-shot, probably 1-shot certain characters. I'll explain with the text LP right now. He can one-shot avatars as long as they're not wearing the vest, can one-shot the weak soldiers. As in weak soldiers, I meant the soldiers that cost 1,500 points. Yeah, those soldiers, the very weak ones. And he can even one-shot something like, he can even one-shot Camo as well. However, he cannot one-shot Raw Runner, stronger soldiers, like the ones that cost more expensive, Juggernaut, mechs, and the avatars that are wearing vests. Now, I did forget to mention the noob bot. I'm not entirely sure about noob bot. I think you can one-shot noob bot. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember dealing with noob bots that much as Sans. Let's be honest, I don't think I dealt with him at all as Sans when recording this footage. But I think you can also one-shot noob bot. I'm not entirely sure on that. But I know you can only one-shot certain characters. Like, you can one-shot the avatar as long as they're not wearing the vest. Now, I also want to bring up how much that Sans costs, in case you are aware. I know I should have brought this up earlier in the video, but I think it's time that I bring it up right now. Sans costs 1,000 points, along with Pennywise, John Doe, and 1x1x1x1. Despite being one of the cheapest killers in the game, he is not someone you can simply pick up and just do well with, as I already said before. But he is definitely not an easy killer to play as, despite being cheap. I don't think him costing 1,000 points is necessarily a bad idea, but considering how hard he is to play as, new players or players who are pretty much new to the game still, or just casual players, are definitely going to struggle with this one. But for players who are actually more experienced and actually know how the game works and all that, then Sans would not be that bad for them to utilize. Sans is definitely the most hardest killer to play as and become a killer. However, when utilized correctly and know how he works and know when to use his attack and when to not use his attack, he is definitely extremely deadly. Like I said, he can only one-shot certain characters. He can deal with some other characters too, except for mechs. Do not fight mechs. But like for other characters he can deal with. It's just, it takes like two or three shots to kill some of them. I think the Juggernaut's like 4 or 5. I'm not entirely sure. But that's only if you're really experienced with the character. If you're still more of a casual and you're just still trying to like at least get used to the character and figure out how he works, I kind of recommend just fighting mainly attacking those who don't have any weapons. Like avatars, yeah, definitely go for them. As like if they don't have weapons or anything, like swords or anything, you're fine. If they have vests but no other weapon, then you can definitely still kill them. It's just they take like 2 hits to kill. It takes 2 hits to kill an avatar with a vest on, as Sans. But then again, I would not recommend playing as Sans at all. I will only recommend playing as Sans if you're at least really skillful with the game enough to understand his playstyle and to understand how he works and to understand how to utilize him. I think on mobile he'd be a very hard to play as because on mobile you pretty much have to be very quick at clicking some buttons and shit. Because I know mobile, the controls are a lot more harder in mobile. On PC and console though, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But still, I recommend playing Sans if you are really skillful at the game and you know how to utilize him. But I do not recommend playing Sans for those who are still new to the game and definitely those who are more casual to the game. Like, if you want to play Sans just for fun, then that's just whatever. But if you want to actually do good with Sans in the meantime, I recommend you at least get skillful in the game and definitely figure out how all the characters utilize work and how to utilize them to even get value from them in the first place. Like I said, Sans is the hardest killer to play as in BAK. However, when you get skillful as him and know how he utilizes right, he is definitely one of the best killers to play as, despite costing cheap. But like I said, he is not easy to play as. You need to really be skillful with this guy. Anyways, that's all I gotta really say about Sans. Sans, like I said, not someone for new or casual players to play or give a shot, but for experienced players, definitely a character you would have fun playing. Especially if you got good at the game and know how to use him correctly and know how to utilize his ability. When utilized correctly, he is definitely a really fun character to play as. It is very satisfying to use your dash and just immediately one-shot someone or just finish someone off at their low HP just like that with your melee attack. if you're quick enough to do so, at least. But anyways, that's all I got to really talk about Sans. And yeah, that's my analysis about Sans, Undertale, and Become a Killer, or BAK for short. I will do another analysis on another character soon. I won't say who it is, but definitely I will do this one soon. Anyways, fellas, if you guys enjoyed this analysis video, I will see you guys next time.